I thought holding Ryan Smith's hand at school would be the scary part. I was wrong, because after everyone at Westbrook High found out, nothing exploded. No one fainted. No one made a scene. People just looked. A lot. In the hallway, at lunch, outside our classrooms. By Wednesday, almost the whole school knew. Ryan and I still came to school together. Still sat beside each other. Still ate lunch at the same table. Only now, when someone stared too long, Ryan would look back and smile, like he had been waiting his whole life to annoy people with confidence. I tried to act calm. Mostly, I succeeded. Mostly. The first time someone whispered near our lockers, I felt my shoulders tense. Ryan noticed immediately. He bumped his shoulder lightly against mine. "You okay?" I looked at the students, pretending not to stare. Then I looked at him. His face was relaxed, warm, patient. That made it easier to breathe. "Yeah," I said. "If they want to look, they can look." Ryan smiled. "That sounds dangerous." "It sounds generous." He laughed under his breath. And this time I did not step away. School was one thing. Family was another. At school, people could whisper. At school, I could roll my eyes and keep walking. But at home, what was I supposed to say? "Mom, Ryan and I are dating?" "Mom, the boy next door is not just my best friend?" "Mom, remember the kid I spent years competing with?" Surprise. I love him. Just thinking about it made my stomach twist. Ryan had his own problem too. The state championship was coming up that weekend, and it mattered. Not just because Ryan loved soccer. This game could help with college recruitment. Coaches were watching. Scouts might be there. His whole team was counting on him. So we made a quiet decision. We would wait. No big talk with our parents. Not yet. Not before the game. After school, Ryan had practice almost every day. And somehow I started showing up more often. At first, I told myself I was just being supportive. Then I realized I knew his water bottle, his warm-up routine, and the exact face he made before taking a shot. That felt less casual. One afternoon, I stood near the fence while Ryan ran drills with his teammates. One of them noticed me first. "Ryan," he called, grinning. "Your boyfriend is here." The whole group laughed. Not meanly, just loudly. Ryan did not even look embarrassed. He turned toward me with that stupid bright smile. "Are you jealous?" His teammates made dramatic noises. I looked away before my face betrayed me. Ryan jogged over, still breathing hard from practice. "You came. Do not sound so happy," I said. "I was nearby." "You live 3 streets away." Nearby is a flexible word. Ryan leaned on the fence, smiling at me like I was the only person there. And for 1 second, I forgot the whole team could see us. Then I remembered. My face went hot. Ryan only laughed. That night, when I got home, Mom was in the kitchen. She looked up from the counter, then at my face, then at my school bag, then back at me. "Aiden, honey," she said, smiling. "You and Ryan have been very attached lately." My heart stopped. I opened the fridge too quickly. "We're just best friends." Mom's smile grew. "Of course." The way she said it made my blood run cold. 'Cause suddenly, I had one terrible thought. Maybe she already knew. Mom's smile should not have scared me. It was just a smile. A normal mom smile. Except it was the same smile she used when I was 10 and tried to hide a broken vase behind a couch pillow. Which meant one thing. She knew something. I stood in front of the open fridge, holding a water bottle like it could protect me. Mom leaned against the counter. "Relax, honey. I was only saying you two seem close again." "We are close," I said too fast. "As friends." Her eyebrow lifted. There it was, the eyebrow of truth. "Of course," she said. "Best friends." I closed the fridge. Very calmly. At least that was the plan. Then Mom added, "By the way, I haven't seen Ryan here since your date." I choked on air. Not water. That was embarrassing. I turned around too quickly. "Our what?" Mom blinked, all innocent. "Your date." It was not a date. She tilted her head. "Wasn't it?" Mason was there. Mom smiled again. "That poor boy." I stared at her. What does that mean? Nothing, she said, picking up a dish towel. You just reacted like someone caught doing something. My face got hot. Mom, she laughed softly, not meanly. That made it worse. I'm sorry, honey. I only meant the food festival. It was just hanging out with Ryan and Mason for part of it. I opened my mouth, then closed it, because unfortunately, she was right. Mom looked too pleased with herself. Then her voice softened. I just haven't seen Ryan around much lately. You two aren't fighting again, are you? That was easier. A little. He's practicing a lot, I said. The state championship is this weekend. Mom's expression changed immediately. Oh, that poor boy. He must be exhausted. I pointed at myself. I am your son. She patted my shoulder as she walked past me. Yes, and my son is being very dramatic. Mom, go change before dinner, sweetheart. I escaped upstairs like the kitchen had personally betrayed me. Dinner should have been normal. It was pasta, salad, garlic bread, no mushrooms, because Mom loved me enough to keep suspicious vegetables away from my plate. But I could barely eat. Mom was cheerful. Dad asked about school. Everything was ordinary. That was the problem. Ordinary felt suspicious now. Mom noticed me pushing pasta around my plate. Aiden, honey, is dinner not good tonight? I looked up too quickly. No, it's good. I remembered not to add mushrooms. I know. I took a big bite to prove I was fine. Mom watched me for half a second, then smiled. Slow down. No one is stealing your food. Ryan isn't here. The pasta almost went the wrong direction. I grabbed my water. Dad looked up from his plate. You okay? I nodded, coughing into my napkin. Fine. Mom's eyes were warm. Too warm. I stood up with my plate. Actually, I'm full. I should study. Aiden, I have homework. I carried my plate to the sink. Very responsibly. Very fast. Mom called after me as I headed upstairs. There's extra food in the fridge if you get hungry. Thanks, Mom. I closed my bedroom door and leaned against it. My heart was doing too much. She knew. She had to know. I finished my homework in the emotional condition of someone preparing for a trial. Then my phone rang. Ryan. I answered and fell back onto my bed. Hey, pretty boy, he said. Miss me? Closed my eyes. Ryan. I think we have a serious problem. His teasing tone disappeared. What happened? I stared at the ceiling. I think my mom knows. There was a pause. Not scary, just careful. Then Ryan asked, what did she say? I told him everything. The best friends comment. The date comment. The Ryan stealing my food comment. By the end, Ryan was trying not to laugh. I could hear it. This is not funny. I know, he said quickly. I know. Sorry. His voice softened. What do you want to do? I don't know. The words felt small. I don't even know how to start. Ryan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, you don't have to start tonight. I swallowed. I'm scared. I know. No joke. No teasing. Just him. But Aiden, he said. We already did one scary thing at school. I turned onto my side. That was different. Maybe. But you didn't run. My chest tightened. And I'm proud of you for that. I stared at my phone like it had become dangerous. Ryan. What? Stop being sweet. He laughed then. Soft and warm. Sorry. I forgot you hate emotions. I do not hate emotions. You just glare at them until they leave. I smiled into my pillow. Go to sleep. You have practice tomorrow. Yes, boss. Good night, Ryan. Good night, Aiden. Then, quieter, he added, I'm here, whenever you're ready. I did not answer right away. I just held the phone close. And for the first time that night, I almost believed him. For the next few days, I became very good at avoiding my own mother. Not forever, just strategically. If Mom was in the kitchen, I suddenly needed something upstairs. If she was in the living room, I remembered homework. If she smiled at me too long, I left the room like the walls were on fire, because I was sure now. She knew something. Sometimes, I caught her looking at me. Not in a bad way. Worse, in a mom way, like the time I broke her vase, hid it behind a couch pillow, and somehow thought that was a plan. One afternoon, our eyes met across the hallway. Mom smiled. "Aiden, honey." My whole body froze. "Yeah." She folded a towel slowly. "Is there anything you want to tell me?" There it was. The question. The door. The cliff. I held my backpack strapped tighter. "No. I was just thinking." Mom's smile softened. "Okay." That was all she said. Somehow that made me more nervous. I escaped upstairs before my face could confess for me. By Saturday, I had a new problem. Ryan's state championship. The game was at Westbrook Stadium, and the place was packed before noon. Students, parents, coaches, people with cameras, people pretending they understood soccer because their children were on the field. My family sat with the Smiths near the middle rows. Mrs. Smith had both hands wrapped around a paper cup. Mr. Smith looked calm, but his foot kept tapping. Mom sat beside me, too close. Dad was on my other side, which meant I was trapped by parental energy. Ryan was warming up on the field. Navy jersey, cleats, hair already messy. He looked focused, bright, like he belonged under all that noise. Then he looked toward the stands, toward me. His face changed, just a little, a smile, small enough that maybe no one else noticed. Unfortunately, my heart noticed everything. Mom leaned slightly closer. "He looks ready." I kept my eyes on the field. "Yeah, he does." My voice sounded normal. That felt like a personal achievement. The game started fast. Too fast. Ryan's team pushed forward almost immediately, and Ryan moved like he already knew where the ball wanted to go. 15 minutes in, one of his teammates passed from the left. Ryan broke through the defense. The crowd rose before the shot even happened. Then Ryan kicked. The ball hit the net. Westbrook exploded. Everyone jumped up. Mrs. Smith gasped. Mr. Smith shouted. My dad clapped so hard it sounded painful. And me? I forgot every rule I had made for myself. I stood up too fast. Yes! Ryan ran toward his teammates. They surrounded him, laughing and shouting. But before they pulled him in completely, he turned his head. Straight toward the stands. Straight toward me. Same smile. Same look. Like the goal was for the whole team, but the celebration had somehow found me first. I sat down very carefully. Mom was clapping beside me. Mrs. Smith was wiping at her eyes. No one looked at me. Good. Probably. Maybe. The first half ended with Westbrook ahead by 1. During halftime, Ryan stayed with his team, listening to Coach Daniels near the sideline. He looked serious again. Game face, soccer captain, future college recruit. Everything this match meant was sitting on his shoulders. Then the whistle blew for the second half. Ryan jogged back onto the field. Before he took his position, he looked up at the stands one more time. I lifted my hand. A small thumbs up. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. Just enough. Ryan smiled. Then he turned back to the game. And I told myself everything was fine. For about 10 minutes, I almost believed it. Then the other team changed. Not completely. Just enough. They started crowding Ryan. One defender stayed too close to him, following every turn, every run, every touch of the ball. I noticed it first. Or maybe I only noticed because I was already watching Ryan too carefully. Ryan got the ball near midfield. He turned. The defender stepped in. Too late. Too sharp. Ryan went down on the grass. The whole stadium made one sound. A sharp, terrible breath. I was on my feet before I thought. Ryan! Mom grabbed my arm gently. Mrs. Smith stood too, her face suddenly pale. Mr. Smith leaned forward, hands gripping the railing. On the field, Ryan stayed still for a second. 1 second. That was all. Unfortunately, my heart treated it like the end of the world. I took 1 step toward the stairs. Mom's hand tightened around my sleeve. Aiden, honey. Wait. I'm waiting. I was not waiting. I was already imagining myself walking onto that field and giving that defender a very detailed lecture about sportsmanship. Dad looked at me. Aiden. That was his calm voice. The one that meant I was not acting calm. I froze. Then I remembered where I was. In the stands. Beside both families. In public. I slowly sat back down. Very slowly. Like a normal person. A normal person whose boyfriend was on the ground. Medical staff jogged onto the field. Ryan sat up before they reached him. My chest loosened. Not completely, but enough for air to exist again. Mrs. Smith covered her mouth with one hand. Mom rubbed my shoulder. "He's sitting up," she said softly. "I see that." My voice sounded too tight. Mom glanced at me, not judging, just noticing. That was somehow worse. A minute later, Ryan stood. The stadium clapped. He shook out one leg, then looked toward the stands. Toward me. He lifted his thumb. I knew what it meant. "I'm okay. Don't panic." I wanted to be offended that he knew me that well. Instead, I lifted my thumb back. Then the referee showed the yellow card. Only yellow. I stared. The defender walked away like nothing happened. I pointed at the field. "That's it." Mom leaned closer. "Aiden, that was clearly not clean." Dad coughed into his hand, possibly to hide a laugh. I turned to him. "This is not funny. I didn't say anything. You thought something." Mr. Smith looked over his shoulder at me. For one horrifying second, I thought I had said too much. Then he nodded seriously. It was a rough challenge. I felt validated. Mrs. Smith sighed. "Please don't encourage him." Mom patted my arm again. "Ryan is okay, sweetheart." I swallowed the rest of my argument. Mostly because 3 people in the row below had turned around to look at me. Great. Wonderful. Now I was not only worried. I was publicly worried. Ryan stayed in the game. Of course he did. Because Ryan Smith apparently believed pain, fear, and common sense were optional suggestions. The other team played harder after that. Westbrook held them off for a while. Then, with 20 minutes left, the other side finally scored. The scoreboard changed. 1-1. The stadium went quiet for half a breath. Ryan stood near midfield, hands on his hips, breathing hard. Then he looked up. Not at the crowd. Not at his coach. At me. I sat very still. No thumbs up this time. Just a look. One I hope said, "You've got this." Ryan's mouth curved. Small. Certain. Then he turned back to the field. And somehow I knew. The game was not over. Not for Ryan. After the score became 1-1, Westbrook changed. The crowd got quieter. The players looked tighter. Even Coach Daniels stopped pacing and started shouting instructions with both hands. Ryan stood near midfield, breathing hard, eyes fixed on the other side. He did not look scared. He looked focused, which honestly was worse, because focused Ryan did reckless things, while pretending they were strategy. With 15 minutes left, Westbrook won the ball back. A midfielder passed it forward. Ryan moved before anyone else did. He cut between 2 players, took the ball with one touch and pushed toward the goal. The same defender followed him. Of course he did. I sat up so fast Mom touched my arm. "Aiden, I'm sitting. You are halfway standing." I looked down. She was right. I sat back very slowly. On the field, the defender rushed in. Too fast. Too desperate. Ryan saw him coming. For one terrifying second, my whole body forgot how to work. Then Ryan lifted the ball. Just a clean little chip. He jumped over the challenge, landed on the other side, and kept running. The stadium exploded before he even shot. Ryan took one more step. Then he kicked. The ball flew past the goalkeeper and hit the net. For half a second, everything froze. Then Westbrook Stadium lost its mind. People screamed. Students jumped. Mrs. Smith grabbed my mom's hand. My dad shouted like he had personally trained Ryan. I stood up with everyone else, my hands shaking from relief. Ryan ran toward the corner flag. His teammates caught him first, pulling him into a celebration. But even through all of that, he looked up. At me. Again. This time, I did not hide my smile. The game changed after that. Westbrook played like someone had unlocked them. 10 minutes later, one of Ryan's teammates scored again. 3-1. The other team looked tired, frustrated, out of answers. Then, in the final minutes, Ryan got the ball one more time. Mrs. Smith whispered, "Come on, sweetheart." Mr. Smith leaned forward. Mom held her breath. I did too. Ryan took the shot. Goal. 4-1. A hat trick. Because apparently Ryan Smith did not know how to be normal about winning. The whistle blew a few minutes later. Westbrook won the state championship. The field became chaos. Good chaos. Safe chaos. Players hugging. Parents cheering. Coach Daniels looking like he might cry and deny it forever. Ryan disappeared into his team for a moment. Then he broke away. Straight toward the stands. Straight toward us. Before I could prepare myself, Ryan reached the railing, came around the side, and pulled me into a hug. A very excited hug. A very public hug. A very Ryan hug. For 1 second, I forgot everything. Then I remembered both families were right there, and half the school. I pushed at his shoulder gently. "Ryan," I whispered. "People are looking." Ryan blinked. Then he scratched the back of his head. "Sorry." I was happy. His smile was so bright that staying embarrassed felt impossible. Mrs. Smith reached him next. "Ryan, you were amazing." She hugged him tightly. Mr. Smith put a hand on Ryan's shoulder. "Proud of you, son." Mom smiled at him. "You were wonderful, Ryan." Ryan looked almost shy. That was rare. "Thank you." Dad nodded toward the scoreboard. 4-1. "Not bad." Ryan laughed. "Thanks, Mr. Miller." After a few minutes of congratulations, the two mothers moved slightly aside. That was never a good sign. Mrs. Smith clapped her hands together. "Tomorrow, barbecue at our house." Mom smiled immediately. "Perfect. We should celebrate properly." Ryan looked at me. I looked back. A barbecue, with both families. After the game, after that hug, my stomach dropped. Ryan's smile softened, like he knew exactly what I was thinking. And suddenly, winning the state championship felt like the easy part. That night, I lay on my bed with my phone against my ear. The championship was over. Westbrook had won. Ryan was a hero. And somehow I was still panicking. "Is your leg okay?" I asked. Ryan laughed softly on the other end. "I'm fine. You went down pretty hard. Aiden, I could carry you around the whole field right now." I stared at my ceiling. That is supposed to make me feel better? It could be romantic. It could be a medical emergency. Ryan laughed again. I hated how much that sound helped. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. Then he asked, quieter, "You were really worried, huh?" I turned onto my side. "Maybe a little." "A little?" I pulled my blanket higher. I almost walked onto the field to give that defender a very detailed lesson about sportsmanship. Ryan went quiet. Then he said, "That might be the sweetest thing anyone has ever almost done for me." "Ryan." "What?" "Do not make this cute." "It is cute." It was stress. It was love disguised as stress. My face warmed, even though he could not see me. "Good night, Ryan." "Wait." His voice changed, softer now. "About tomorrow." My stomach tightened. The barbecue, both families, one backyard, too much grilled food, too many chances for someone's mother to ask one simple question and destroy my ability to function. "What about it?" I asked. Ryan breathed out. "You think it'll be okay?" "I don't know." That was the honest answer. The one I hated. Ryan was quiet for a moment. "My mom has been asking about you too." I sat up. "Mrs. Smith?" "Yeah." "What did she ask?" "Normal things. Too normal." I pressed my lips together. "So they both know something." "Maybe." That did not help. Ryan seemed to know that because his voice softened again. "Aiden, listen to me." I stopped moving. "If you get scared tomorrow, just stand behind me." My chest did something stupid. "Ryan, I mean it. I'm not hiding behind you at a barbecue. You can. I'm very sturdy." I laughed despite myself. "Right? My personal superhero." "Exactly. More like Hulk." There was a pause. "Aiden." "What?" "I am obviously Spider-Man." You have Hulk energy. I have athletic Spider-Man energy. That is not a real category. It is now. I smiled into the dark. Good night, Hulk. Aiden, do not hang up. I ended the call before he could finish. For 1 full minute, I just lay there, holding my phone against my chest. I was happy. I was scared. Apparently, both feelings could live in the same body and argue all night. When I finally fell asleep, my dream was not kind. I dreamed of the barbecue, of Mom looking at me like I had broken her heart, of Mrs. Smith turning quiet, of every warm thing between our families turning cold at once. In the dream, Ryan stepped in front of me, like he had promised, like he would protect me even from something he was scared of too. I woke up early Sunday morning, heart racing. The room was gray and still. My phone said it was only a little after 7. The barbecue was still hours away, which meant I still had time to prepare myself for whatever came next. Downstairs, Mom was making breakfast. She looked up when I entered the kitchen. Then her smile softened. Bad dream. I froze with one hand on the chair. How did you know? You have the same face you had after that horror movie Mason made you watch. I sat down slowly. It was just a dream. Mom set a plate in front of me. Well, eat something. You're going to Ryan's later. There was no teasing in her voice, just warmth. Somehow that made my throat tight. Yeah, I said. I know. Mom touched my shoulder as she passed. Don't be late, honey. I looked down at my breakfast and tried very hard not to be afraid of Sunday. Mom left for the Smith's house before noon. She had a tote bag in one hand and the calm energy of someone who was absolutely not terrified of anything, which felt unfair. Lisa needs help setting up, she said. I sat at the kitchen table, pushing the last of my breakfast around my plate. Right? Mom paused near the door. Aiden. I looked up too fast. Yes. Her face softened. Don't overthink today. My fork stopped moving. I'm not. She smiled. That same dangerous mom smile. Of course you're not. Then she left. I stared at the door after it closed. Great. Wonderful. Even my mother knew I was losing a fight with my own brain. A little later, my phone rang. Mason. I should have ignored it. I did not. What? Mason sounded personally offended. Wow. That is how you answer your best friend. It is how I answer trouble. I am not trouble. Mason. He paused. Okay, fair. I leaned back in my chair. What do you want? What time is Ryan's celebration thing? I blinked. The barbecue? Yes, the meat-based championship ceremony. I sat up. You were invited? Mason gasped. Aiden, that hurt. I'm just asking. I was there before this became a romance saga, he said. I witnessed history. You caused half of it. And you're welcome. I rubbed my forehead. It starts at 2. Great. Ryan isn't answering. He's probably helping his mom. Or avoiding manual labor. That is also possible. Mason lowered his voice dramatically. Are you nervous? I looked toward the window. The Smith's backyard was only a few houses away. Too close. Not close enough. No, Mason was quiet for 1 second. Then he said, that sounded very fake. I closed my eyes. I hate that you know me. That is friendship. See you at 2, Mason. Wear something cute. I hung up immediately. Unfortunately, that sentence ruined my next hour. I stood in front of my closet like I was choosing an outfit for a courtroom, a wedding, and the end of my life. Too casual looked careless. Too nice looked suspicious. Too suspicious looked like confession clothing. In the end, I wore a short-sleeve button-up shirt, tailored shorts, and the expression of someone who had made peace with nothing. I was 15 minutes late. By the time I reached the Smith's backyard, the barbecue had already started. The air smelled like grilled chicken, corn, and summer. There were folding chairs near the patio, a cooler by the deck, a few of Ryan's teammates near the grill, laughing with paper plates in their hands. Mason was already eating. Of course, Ryan saw me first. He was standing near the table, wearing a t-shirt and jeans, looking unfairly happy for someone whose family might accidentally discover everything today. "Aiden," he called. "Finally. I was about to come get you." I gave him a look. "Do not start." Ryan smiled. Too softly. Too openly. My heart did something inconvenient. Before I could say anything else, Mason appeared beside us with a plate. "Aiden, you have to try this." He held up a piece of grilled chicken like it was a sacred object. "Mrs. Smith is a genius." Ryan and I both stared at him. Mason chewed happily. "What?" I looked at his plate. "Mason, I think you should confess your feelings to the barbecue." He frowned. "Are you calling me obsessed with food?" "No. I'm saying you have a deep emotional bond with it." Mason pointed at me with his fork. Funny. Coming from someone with a deep emotional bond with the soccer captain, the backyard went quiet. Not completely, but enough. My stomach dropped. Ryan's smile faded. Mason froze. Then his eyes widened. "Oh no," he whispered. I slowly turned my head. Both our mothers were looking at us. And suddenly, Sunday got a lot more complicated. The silence stretched for one terrible second. Mason looked like his soul had left his body. Ryan stood beside me, too still. And I forgot how words worked. Mrs. Smith blinked first. Then she smiled. Not a shocked smile. Not an angry smile. A normal one, which was somehow worse. "Okay, everyone," she said, clapping once. "Food's ready before everything gets cold." People started moving again. Slowly, like the backyard had rebooted. Mason leaned toward me, voice barely above a whisper. "Aiden, I am so sorry." I looked at him. He looked genuinely guilty, which made it harder to stay mad. Harder, not impossible. "Mason," I whispered, "please stop helping." He nodded quickly. "Done." No more words from me. 2 seconds later, he added, "Except sorry." I closed my eyes. Ryan's hand brushed mine under the edge of the table. Just once. A quiet check-in. I looked at him. His expression said, "I'm here." That did not fix everything, but it kept me standing. We all sat down around the long patio table. There was grilled chicken, corn, salad, garlic bread, a suspicious amount of lemonade. Ryan's teammates sat near the end, suddenly very interested in their paper plates. One of them gave Ryan a small thumbs up. Another gave me a look that clearly meant, "Good luck, man. Great." Even the soccer team was spiritually attending my emotional emergency. Mrs. Smith set a platter in the middle. "Aiden," I remembered, "no mushrooms today." Mom laughed softly. That would have been too much for him. I stared at my plate. Mushrooms. They were joking about mushrooms. After Mason had basically opened the door to the scariest conversation of my life. Mr. Smith pointed at the grill. "Barbecue used to be your favorite when you boys were little." Dad nodded. I remember them fighting over the last piece of garlic bread. Ryan gave me a quick look. I gave him one back. Neither of us said anything, because what could we say? "Yes, thank you for the grilled chicken. Also, surprise. Your sons are dating." Mason sat beside me like a criminal awaiting judgment. Every few minutes, he leaned closer. "Still sorry." I kicked his shoe under the table. Not hard, just enough. He immediately focused on his food. Smart choice. Everyone else kept talking. The dads talked about the game. Mrs. Smith asked Ryan about his leg. Mom asked if Coach Daniels had cried. Ryan said no. One of his teammates said yes. Everyone laughed. Except me. I was too busy mentally packing an imaginary suitcase. Because my brain had fully lost control. Maybe our parents were waiting until after dessert. Maybe they were planning a serious living room meeting. Maybe this was how forbidden love stories started. Maybe Ryan and I would have to move to a small town, open a bookstore, and raise emotionally supportive houseplants. Completely reasonable thoughts. Mom touched my arm. I nearly jumped out of my chair. "Aiden, honey?" I looked at her. "Yes." She studied my face. "You look like you got lost at a mushroom festival." Mrs. Smith smiled across the table. "There are still no mushrooms, I promise." A few people laughed. I tried to laugh too. came out wrong. Ryan shifted beside me. His knee touched mine. Grounding. Warm. Mom's smile faded into something softer. She looked at Ryan, then at me, then finally at Mason. Mason stopped chewing. That was when I knew. The question was coming. Mom folded her hands on the table. Are you two acting strange because of what Mason said earlier? The whole backyard went quiet again. Ryan's hand found mine under the table. This time he held on. And I knew. There was no pretending anymore. Mom's question sat in the middle of the table. Heavy. Obvious. Impossible to ignore. His grip stayed there. Firm. Warm. Like he was ready to stand between me and the whole world if he had to. I looked at Mason. Mason looked like he wanted to disappear inside his paper plate. Then I looked at Mom. My voice barely worked. Mom! She tilted her head softly. Yes, honey? That was it. That gentle voice. That normal face. Somehow it made me braver. I swallowed. Ryan and I... The words stopped. My chest felt too tight. Ryan's thumb moved once against my hand. Small. Steady. Mom looked at our hands. Then back at me. And smiled. Oh, sweetheart. Mrs. Smith covered her mouth. Not because she was upset. Because she was laughing. Very quietly. I froze. Ryan froze too. Across the table, Mason whispered, Wait, are we safe? I kicked his shoe again. Still not hard. Mom finally laughed. Aiden, did you really think? I didn't know. My brain stopped. What? Mrs. Smith reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. Aiden, your mom sent me this first. She turned the screen toward us. Westbrook Confessions. Of course. A photo from the cafeteria. Ryan leaned closer to me, and I looked like my soul had left my body. Mason was standing in the corner of the picture, looking way too proud of himself. My mom leaned closer. Then she smiled. And about 5 seconds later, Mom said, Lisa sent me back another one. This time, from the movie theater. I blinked. Wait. Ryan turned to look at his mom too. You knew about Westbrook Confessions? Mrs. Smith laughed softly. Of course I did, sweetheart. She glanced at Mason. I ran into Mason at the grocery store a few weeks ago. Mason immediately went stiff. Mrs. Smith kept smiling. He told me you two were having some kind of rivalry on a page called Westbrook Confessions. I slowly turned my head toward Mason. Mason avoided my eyes with the speed of a guilty man. My mom shrugged, as if this was the most normal thing in the world. Of course, Lisa told me. She smiled lightly. We're best friends. Inside my head, once again, I screamed Mason's name. Because of course, wherever there was trouble, Mason was probably standing nearby. Dad leaned closer to look at the phone. Then he nodded like this was completely normal. That is a very clear photo. Dad, I whispered. Mom reached across the table and gently touched my wrist. I have been giving you chances to talk all week. I stared at her. The best friends comment. The date comment. The Ryan stealing my food comment. Every terrifying moment replayed in my head. Oh, Mom smiled. Yes. Oh, Ryan looked at his mother. You knew too. Mrs. Smith's expression softened. Ryan, you smiled at your phone for 3 days straight. I raised you. I noticed. One of Ryan's teammates coughed into his drink. Mason pointed at him immediately. Not a word. The teammate raised both hands. I said nothing. For the first time all afternoon, I almost laughed. Almost. Then I looked at Mom again. The real question was still there. Waiting. So, I said carefully, what do you think? Mom's face changed. Not sad. Not shocked. Just serious enough to make everyone quiet. What do I think about you and Ryan? I nodded. My hand tightened around Ryan's. Mom's voice was calm. I think your heart is yours. My throat closed. No one gets to decide who you can love, she said. Not me. Not anyone. Mrs. Smith nodded. She's right. No one has the right to judge love. Ryan let out a breath beside me, like he had been holding it all day. Maybe all week. So you're okay with us? He asked. Mrs. Smith smiled at him. We were okay with it before you were ready to ask. Mom squeezed my wrist. And we are proud of you. For a second, I could not speak. The thing I had feared for days had turned into warmth, into laughter, into my mother's hand on my wrist and Ryan's hand holding mine. Then Mr. Smith stood, lifting his cup. Well, he said, clearing his throat, to Ryan's championship. Everyone raised their drinks. Then he looked at us. And to Ryan and Aiden. Ryan's eyes widened. Dad, Mr. Smith smiled. To being honest, Dad lifted his cup too. In this house, your mother's word is law. Mom gave him a look. He smiled immediately. And I happily support the law. Mrs. Smith laughed. Mr. Smith nodded. Same in our house. The whole table finally relaxed. Even Mason, especially Mason. He leaned toward me and whispered, So, am I forgiven? I looked at him. Temporarily. I'll take it. Later, after the food was gone and the backyard had quieted, Ryan and I sat near the fence. The sky was turning soft orange. Ryan's shoulder brushed mine. I did not move away. Is this real? I asked. Ryan looked at me. I think so. I imagined this going worse. Me too. I turned to him. You did. He scratched the back of his head. I was mentally packing my bags. I laughed. For the first time all day, it did not feel nervous. Felt free. I looked back at the house where our parents were still talking. I feel like the universe was kind to me, I said. Ryan smiled. Because you have a soccer captain boyfriend? I rolled my eyes. Because I was born into a family that always chose me first. His smile softened. Both can be true. I looked at him. You also have a smart boyfriend who sings well. Very lucky, Ryan said. Then he reached for my hand. This time, no one was watching. And even if they were, I would not have let go. Ryan leaned closer. I met him halfway. The kiss was soft, quiet, like coming home.